Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greggy,
so we can get naked.
you can say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome to episode number
58.
Hey everyone, we are so excited today. Rarely do you come across someone that has such a huge impact in your life. And today we have Dr. Snyder on with us. And he has truly been an inspiration to us. I know that the concepts we're going to talk about today, you've heard because we've been talking about them, but now we have the author of them today. So Amy, do you want to introduce him real quick?
Yes, we have the OG. I'm a little jittery with excitement because I literally am so excited. Dr. Steven Snyder is one of America's leading authorities on sex and relationships. He's an associate clinical professor of psychiatry at the Icahn School of Medicine in Mount Sinai in New York City, and his practice is entirely devoted to sex and relationship issues. He's been on major media, including NBC Today, New York Times, Times of London, Elle, Cosmo, Vogue, and the Goop podcast. I love this too. He may be the only sex therapist ever to host an international fashion launch for Dolce & Gabbana's 2012 fragrance Desire in St. Petersburg, Russia. Like all of those components together are just amazing.
Ask me to tell you about that sometimes.
Absolutely will. I came across him through his book, which I'm going to hold up now, Love Worth Making: How to Have Ridiculously Great Sex in a Long-Lasting Relationship. I have dog-eared and underlined and tabbed almost every page in this book. You've heard us talk about this. You've heard it in our coaching. You've heard it in our lives and examples. And so we really wanted to bring you the original. And I also love this other descriptor of him. Dr. Jennifer Ashton from ABC's Good Morning America wrote, "Love Worth Making does for sex therapy what Hamilton did for Broadway musical. This playful yet profound book reminds us that sex should be easy and can be once we learn to get out of our own way," which is a quote, like you say,
Get the hell out of your own way.
all the time. We've talked a lot about your two-step and your simmering and those ideas and letting arousal take care of you. So I feel like those are really, really key components of your book. And I want to talk about them just a little bit, but we have also done like full podcasts on them. So
Hey,
yeah,
I'm honored. Thank you.
the two-step process. Do you want to just explain that to us in your own words? And then we'll
Sure.
ask you a question about that.
The two-step is as an alternative to the sex date. Because couples are always being told in the conventional media, put a date on the calendar that you're going to go to bed, take off your clothes, and have sex. And unfortunately, it's a little bit like making a dinner reservation and then you get to dinner and you're not hungry. In the book, I talk about before you have sex, you have to kind of transition from your ordinary state of thinking and doing to a state of what in the field we call awareness, where you're not really thinking or doing anything. You're just kind of hanging out and just noticing what's going on. When you're first getting together as a couple, the novelty, all of the newness and excitement automatically pulls you into a state of awareness. And what people experience as they're become an established couple is that it's not so automatic, and therefore they mourn. They go, oh my God, it isn't happening anymore. Whereas the reality is it still can happen just fine. You just have to consciously decide and be willing to get into a state of awareness. And it's not that hard to do. And so I tell couples, rather than have a sex date, make a date to get to bed and take off your clothes and do absolutely nothing. That's a foreign concept to most people. You know, in the East and Eastern religions, you know, it's going like this. It's all over the place. But here in the West, we don't do it very often, except now these days with the influence of the mindfulness movement, which, as you may know, was derived from Zen Buddhism. And they just took the Buddhism out and left the kind of mental technology aspect of it, of developing a state of awareness. And so step one is to just get into bed and just be aware of anything, really, the temperature in the room, be aware of your feet, take a breath. You don't have to like sit cross-legged and eat vegan or anything. It's just like a couple of minutes. You're just like making that transition.
Yeah. Really from the doing to like being, just to presence.
Exactly, exactly. Which is where all the good stuff happens in sex. And that's the reason that people have such good sex at the beginning, is because that natural kind of new excitement automatically pulls you into a state of awareness. But even after that's done, you can do it on your own. You don't really have to wait for it to happen. And so one of the main take homes is that you can have good sex in a committed relationship if you know how to do that, even in the absence of desire. So even if you're not hungry, if you have selected well and you've chosen a partner who you like how they're put together and you kind of like the physical experience of being with them, if you get into a state of awareness and then direct your attention to your partner so that you're being aware of your partner and you just hang out and experience your partner, then you're really doing the right thing. Most people, unfortunately, when they get together, they're trying to start their partner up.
How to pull that lawnmower cord, right? Like,
The beginning of the book, which I put as the beginning because it's the number one mistake I see couples make, which is just trying to start your partner up like you're trying to start up a gas lawnmower. How do I pull the cord just right? And it's a frustrating thing to do. And it's totally sexy.
Yes.
Because sexiness is selfish. And I wrote this book because I couldn't find it anywhere. All the other books said, oh, give your partner the blue ribbon experience and drive them to heights of pleasure. And I thought, oh my God, I've got woman after woman in my office talking about how their partner is trying to do that. And it's utterly boring because there's no passion in it. Because passion, selfish. No hero in a romance novel ever rips the heroine's clothes off and then says, okay, now tell me how you like to be touched.
it's not sexy.
What she's really after. She's after somebody who wants to just consume her like a croissant. And I always tell guys, if you're going to create the conditions for having a passionate encounter with your partner, you want to change from being a producer to being a consumer. So you're not trying to produce anything. There's a sex author named Kevin Lehman who wrote a book, otherwise pretty good book, called Sheet Music. And at the end, he says, my prayer every night, because he's a religious man, he says, my prayer every night, please God, show me what to do in order to please my wife. And I think to myself, no, Kevin, I don't think you got it right on that one. Got a lot of little things right, but I don't think that one's right. I would say, help me know what I want in order to please myself. Because you're really not trying to produce anything. You're really just there. I mean, she's a croissant. You're just trying to consume her. I teach people usually mindful eating, where in mindful eating, you take a strawberry and you look at the strawberry and you appreciate that essential strawberryness of that strawberry and the different colors of red and the texture, and you put it in your mouth and you chew it and you savor the juice and inhale it and so forth. And when you get to bed, you want to do the exact same thing with your wife. Just pretend she's a big strawberry and just kind of.
I can do that.
You take touch, you enjoy all the sensations and the pleasures and the joy of, and then she enjoys.
She enjoys that you're
the
into
attention.
Her.
Yes.
It's interesting because the way I got there wasn't probably I guess there's not a wrong and right way.
Yeah, how'd you crack this nut?
Yeah, so I finally got there because one night I went to bed and I was so exhausted. And I told Amy 24/7, 7 days a week, I don't care if you're in the mood, wake me up because I'm ready to go. And so we were sitting there trying to do this mindfulness, and I was so tired I couldn't try to get her going. I couldn't start overthinking. I was just so tired, and that put me in my body, and we had this experience that was just fabulous. So I knew that I could get there, and that really helped me on the trail to get there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it happened, although it happened in a unusual fashion. But
so I tell everyone, like, don't go about my way, but learn from me that, listen, you can get there. It's you got to get out of your mind and you got to be present in your body and enjoy the moments that you have there with her.
Not get ahead.
Young men in my office all the time, I say, when you touch your partner's body, are you touching her body for your benefit or for her benefit? And they all go, well, for hers, of course. Isn't that what I'm supposed to do? because
Mhm.
everybody's been told that these days. They're supposed to
Mhm.
be,
Mhm.
careful and considerate and giving lovers. And I go, no, 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 not at all. No, you're supposed to touch her body for your benefit because it makes you happy. And that's passion. And that's what every woman wants. Now, obviously,
Mhm.
we don't go all the way back 100 years to masculinity 1.0, where the guy
Right.
didn't know had orgasms and he didn't know what a clitoris was. That wasn't so great. But neither do we want to sit at masculinity 2.0, where everybody in college now is constantly be told that it's a matter of just kind of finding out what your partner wants and giving it to them and so forth. But we really want masculinity 3.0, where you're conscious of the fact that she doesn't like you to bite her nipples, so don't do it. And you're conscious of the fact she does have a clitoris and she kind of does enjoy it if she's getting some attention. But those things aren't first and foremost in your mind. What's first and foremost in your mind is just that you're hungry and she's there and you just want to consume her.
Yeah.
Selfish.
The
And,
ravenous. And
as
she
people,
wants to be consumed as the desirable consumption, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And, I talk to women in my office all the time. I go, oh, yeah, give me the verb. Give me the verb that you really, what do you want to happen in the bedroom? And very frequently I heard the word surrender. I just want to surrender to somebody who's
Mm.
worth surrendering to. I go, yeah,
Which is why it's so not sexy for them to say, "What do you want? What do you want? What do
yeah,
you want?
most women, that's what I'm doing all day. I'm
Touch
making,
me."
I'm figuring out what I'm gonna have for dinner. I'm thinking about what I want all the time. I don't want. I just wait that let me just surrender. Let me just surrender. And
Yeah.
it's a common male female misunderstanding. Saturday afternoon, woman says to the man, "What do you want for dinner?" And the guy says the absolute truth because he's honest. He goes, "I don't care." Um, and it's the wrong answer because the question actually didn't mean what do you want for dinner. It means
She said,
I'm
"Help me come up with an idea."
tired of making all these decisions. Why don't you
Yes.
just hold over?
And that's so true because I see the number one problem that we have is we try to make our partner be and respond and look like us. We try to make them spontaneous like us if we're spontaneous. We're like, if you don't do this, you don't really desire me. And I love the way you put this. You've said, look at you're different, and that's great. That's what will cause passion. You need someone to be the chaser, and you want someone to be the chasee, right? And that's where passion lies.
You need the man to be the chaser and the woman to be the
Yep.
chasee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that got me in trouble, it lost me a lot of publishers, was that I did talk about gender differences in psychology, which is, as you probably know, is a forbidden subject because the
Yes.
usual catechism is men and women are more similar than they're different. You have to keep repeating that over and over again. And I said, no, actually, I think they're very, very different, and in many ways. And in heterosexual life, which I think is one of the most challenging kinds of relationships, a lot of the problems come from the fact that they're so different and that they truly don't understand each other. And the other
And the other
problems,
is threatening. The other partner, what they
what we,
want and how they see it is very threatening.
what do you mean?
Well, like, let's say I don't have fantasies and he has a lot of fantasies, then his fantasies become a threat to me. Or let's say he wants more frequency and I want less, then his frequency becomes a threat to me. Like,
Okay.
especially in the production mindset, like I'm supposed to produce this for him, which obviously I don't condone the production mindset, but in that mindset, the differences become even more threatening to the sense of self. Maybe I'm broken, maybe I'm wrong, I should be this way, I should be that way. Like they tend to produce a lot of that.
I see that a lot. It sounds like you do too.
Mhm.
It's an interesting aspect of female psychology that I see all the time, which is a vulnerability to feeling like you're broken. Um, there are not that many guys who come away with that feeling from a disappointing sexual experience, but most women that I talk to, they seem to kind of take responsibility in that kind of way. Like I should have been
Nope.
able to make this go better and so forth. And that's kind of a questionable thing. As you know, the best-selling sex book in the world is Emily Nagoski's "Come as You Are," and the reason she wrote it was that she taught a course on female sexuality, and she asked for evaluations at the end of the course, and over half of the respondents said the most important thing that they learned in the class is that they're not broken.
Yes.
Yeah. You hear that all the time on our retreats and everything, especially for the women's sessions. They'll
Yeah.
come out just in tears, like, I'm
Oh,
not
I'm
broken.
not broken.
Yeah. It's really something. I encounter it every week.
Yes.
I don't know what that means. Why that is a kind of as a generalization, a little bit of a gender difference. Why men aren't running into the therapist's office saying, I feel like I'm broken. I don't know what that means, but it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I really feel like the women, like you talked about, take a little ownership of it, of this is something I have to do, especially if they're doing duty sex, which we come across a lot, right? Where they come across as a duty and this is something I have to accomplish or do. And realizing that because in general in the world and the way that we've talked about it for years and years and years, it is around the male and male sexuality. And so the women don't really understand that desire and passion and sex is for them. That's what we come across, especially highly religious backgrounds, and really teaching them that desire and sexuality is not evil. It's part of being a person
A
and it's
human.
good for them. That's where we see really different. So I think that leads up to this. I'm broken because I'm not accomplishing it. I'm not doing this in the right way.
Yeah, I really, having been in that spot and having felt broken, I didn't have a model for what female sexuality should look like or could look like or anything. And so my only encounter with sexuality was really through my partner, through my spouse, and his was so different. It felt like I needed to get there and to be like that. And so then the understanding was, well, then I must be broken because I don't
Well,
respond this way and I don't have this
okay.
relationship to my own. So it was like a comparison thing. Like I didn't have another measure. I didn't have an Emily Nagoski yet to say,
Yeah,
here's what female sexuality actually is and what it looks like and what the
it's
experience is.
it's different.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I guess you could, yeah, accent the differences or the similarities. In my book, I talk about the similarities first. In the first section of the book, that everybody needs to get out of their way. Everybody needs to transition from thinking and doing to awareness. Everybody needs to regress to a state of infantile narcissism where you feel just wonderful about yourself and you feel that you and your partner are the only two people in the world and it's most magical for the two of you, and have your partner just make nice noises and tell you that you're wonderful. And everybody needs to be free of, all the garbage that we get told about sex. But
Yeah.
beyond that, the genders do tend to be a little bit different. Your average man getting turned on by a female partner in a heterosexual couple usually is turning him on is not anything that she's doing. It's just the fact that she looks hot.
Yep.
You
Just her existence, her
Show up naked, you'll
nearness.
be good.
exactly. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. What are those women doing? They're doing nothing. They're doing absolutely nothing at all. They're just lying there, looking in a state of pleasure, and that's hot for the average guy. The reverse is not true. A handsome guy, semi-undressed, lying on the beach, doing nothing. It doesn't really do that much for the average woman. Usually he has to do, he has to, I don't know, save a village or, or lead a nation
Oh, that's so true.
or found a company or something. He's got to do something,
Yeah.
In my
Yeah.
practice, women get very, very anxious when their husbands are about to retire. They go, wait a minute, what's he going to do all day? He's just going to sit around the house? No, it's not sexy. They're not sexy at all. We have my synagogue. How do you get your wife's attention? Sit in a chair and look comfortable. She's going to notice it.
You'll come up with a lot of to-dos.
Turn a football game on.
But so there are lots of differences. And, you mentioned in some of the traditional clients that you work with, the woman kind of comparing their sexuality to their male partners and feeling there might be something deficient about them and feeling like they're kind of on the wrong side. With me, I see mostly people in a more, how shall I say, more progressive culture. I mean, in Manhattan is a blue state and everything, and not that many people from traditional backgrounds. And I find it's more the men who seem a little lost. Very often the women in my community, they've all read Emily Nagoski. They've all read it. Some of them have read my book and they're ready to rock. They know they're ready to go for it. And the guys are dropping like flies. It's, the big sexual dilemma of the 20th century was the woman saying, "Not tonight, dear, I have a headache." And behind that was often all sorts of bad feelings or feeling broken or all sorts of stuff. The dilemma I see in my office is not that at all. The big dilemma I think called the 21st century dilemma. Woman knows, what's going on. She knows herself and she knows where her clitoris is, and she's resolved any pain problems she might have had, and she's figured everything out. And she's read all the books and she's ready to rock. And the guy has gone missing in bed. That's why one of the in my book is that what happened with men go missing in bed. What's that about? I don't, there's lots of details and there's lots of possibilities, from low testosterone to depression to feeling hurt about something that she said 10 years ago. But the overall picture is that men really do go missing in bed at my more progressive community. And I don't know what to make of it, but I think has something to do with the fact that in the 20th century, women have attained more social and economic and political power and an autonomy. And they've kind of given up some of the patriarchal privilege or been made to give up patriarchal privilege. And they don't kind of know what to do at this point.
Interesting.
And aren't exactly sure how to be a man in a relationship.
Yeah, I think we definitely see.
About what that
Yeah, I
means.
definitely think we see the other side of that coin for sure, right? We definitely see the more conservative side of the picture where the man really is like, "Hey, this is for me," and the woman's like, "I don't know what." And spending the time to get her to know and do all the things you said that the women on your side have already done. That's where we start most of the time.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it is I find couples come in and the woman says, I have no desire. I'm in the state of producing. The husband comes in, is like, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of asking her what she wants. I'm tired of trying to create the time, the space, do all the things to earn it. And they're at this like impasse.
You're seeing the more traditional version.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I struggle with this in the book. And one of the things that occurred to me is that, as you know, is that people treat sex in a binary fashion. Are we going to have sex? Or are we not? And really a shame because it doesn't have to be binary, so that even if the woman doesn't feel like having sex, she might say, if she's bold enough, she could say, if you want to just kind of hold me and feel excited, that'd be fine. I'd be good with that as long as we don't have to have intercourse. So I don't have to get up and pee afterwards because I'm really tired. And the guy would say, oh, that's great. And
Yes.
they can just do that. And then I don't know if this is appropriate for your audience, but the next move is if after a couple of minutes of that, the guy really wants an orgasm, to be in bed with her and hold her and with his other hand give himself an orgasm. You see couples willing to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the classic new
Once
porn.
they've like teased out that's okay. Like there usually is some
Yeah. Oh, that's selfish. We can't do that. Or
yes, once
Right,
there's
right.
religious aspects. Yeah.
Well, just when you get married, you lose the right to touch your own genitals.
Yeah.
And so, I talk to clients about this. I call it lazy sex. Actually, a patient of mine dubbed it lazy sex. And when I talk to clients about that, half of them say, "Oh yeah, we never would have been able to stay married if we didn't do that because I want 4 orgasms with one." And especially after we had kids, she was exhausted. It was the only way I was going to get an orgasm most nights. And then the other half of clients look at you like you have 3 heads. You go, "Oh, were you kidding? You could really do that?" And it sounds like you encounter.
Is this really legal?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
That's interesting because I think the one thing that we encountered and the really trying to get my arms wrapped around was that from a very young age, especially from the religious backgrounds, men especially have been told that the arousal and desire is something that they have to be careful with or avoid or solve. And so we're in this picture of solving this arousal, right? What do I do with it? I can't do that. I can't do this. And when we get married, we think the magic key is we're going to get married and all of a sudden we're going to have all of our desires met.
The
And
wife is going to
yeah.
solve that arousal.
Yeah. So this concept that you have of changing what is sex really? Does it have to have an orgasm every time? Was a huge change for us. I was taking my clients down this path and really didn't have the words for it. And your book really gave me the words. And I love your analogy about meals and having meals. But it really is a change,
Meals,
right? Like we're
meals.
not trying to solve it. Yeah, meals, like eating dinner.
The best sex.
Yeah.
Just enjoying the
And just
meal.
enjoying the meal instead of waiting for the orgasm at the end, right? And
It's
it
just
really
for
has
people-
changed our perspective.
All right, I'm so glad. It's just for people who had that the full sense of it, unless you've talked about it at length in other podcasts, the idea that every part of the meal is to be savored, in a state of awareness. And if you're in a really good restaurant and you're having the appetizers, you're not thinking about the main course. You're just
They're
thinking
good.
about the app. And then
And you're
you go,
enjoying all of the textures
yeah.
and the environment
then
and
they-
the company. And
and then they come in and they say, "Okay, who ordered the salmon?" And you go, "Wait a minute, I forgot. We get a main course too? Oh, that's great." And then you're enjoying the main course and you're getting a little full and they come around with the dessert tray and you go, Oh, I forgot we get dessert too. I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really allowed us as a married couple to engage in such a more deep relationship, right? Because there's not that expectation of it has to go A, B, C, and then B, D, and be done. We can enjoy the whole things, and some days we will, and some days we won't. And it really impacted us a lot.
Immensely. And when I first suggest this to my couples, they're like, that
What?
idea of, like, is this legal? And can he really survive
Yes.
if I don't, finish him off, or if he doesn't have this? They really believe they can't survive, or that arousal should be avoided unless you plan to have an orgasm.
Exactly. And if it occurs, it has to be treated like a fever. You have to give them the Tylenol. You have
Yeah,
to
we gotta get rid of it. Solve it. Solve the problem. Solve the problem.
It's a good thing. I say, especially to women. I talk to women sex therapists who don't know this sometimes. I go, we guys, we like to be hard. It's a good feeling. It's not painful. And so if we're hard and then nothing ends up happening and we end up being not hard after a couple of minutes, that's okay. We like the fact that we were hard. You
Yeah.
don't have to cure us of it if you were responsible for it occurring. And women go, you sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
No, really, they say, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that was my job that
Yeah.
I signed up for.
How many wives have told you I can't do that because then we'll have to have sex?
Yes. And then
Exactly.
they start avoiding their husband, and then
might
they don't
get
want to give
hard.
off any.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might get hard, as if that's a very dangerous situation.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't go there. Yeah.
And we say, enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So
it actually
we
feels
guys
good.
like to get
And
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
they're like, they look at their husbands and they're like, is that true?
Yeah.
And,
Can you
the
really
analogy-
survive this?
The analogy that I use with patients, I say, a guy gets hard, it's like a dog wagging his tail. It just means yeah. And so it's like you're treating the dog wagging his tail. It's just a happy thing. Just enjoy it.
Pat him on the head and say, "Good boy."
It's a good dog, yeah. Just scruff
The
him
best
around the
analogy.
ear. A good dog.
Rough him up around the neck. Throw him a ball, and he'll be good.
Scratch his back, and give him
Oh,
some
that
water.
is so true. It's such a different perspective, though, but came to the same conclusion before we found the book. That was what's nice, right? I was like, through all
Okay,
this
so
coaching, I was seeing the same problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where they're
yeah.
trying to resolve this. And then when we read your book, we're like, well, yeah, that's exactly how.
Okay,
agree.
good. Good. So we're
But
seeing
your
rea-
analogy is just, or the metaphor of just enjoying the meal. And sometimes there's dessert, and there's all different kinds of meals, right? There's quick meals and long meals and snacks and expensive meals and fabulous meals. And all of those meals can be enjoyable, right?
Yeah, we call this the pizza theory. What kind of pizza you feel like having? You want cheese pizza or you want all the extras? You could decide.
Yeah.
No, I had used it this morning on a client. I said, "You like burgers sometime, don't you?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, then it doesn't have to be the 3-course meal at a fine restaurant every time, does it? Yeah, I guess
As
you're
long
right.
as long as there's real passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's enjoyable and you're enjoying what is
moment.
happening in yourself and between you. And it's
Yeah.
keeping track of that enjoyment that I think is so crucial. Like noticing, you talk about the awareness and the aliveness and the enjoyment, like really cultivating that. Like, am I enjoying this? Is this enjoyable? Like, what would be more enjoyable if this isn't? Just staying in that pleasure.
Okay, good. All right, so sounds like we're on the same page.
100%. And I don't know if you've seen this a lot too, but to me, and it helped me a lot, but most of the guys get ahead of themselves in some ways, right? They've thought this through. They've gone through and think this is the way it should happen. And I can't wait till XYZ happens. And they don't get in the moment. And so it's really helped me a lot to get in touch with myself before I get in touch with Amy. Where am I at? Am I in the now? Am I
Yeah.
present?
That's the step one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, a lot of guys have, guys vary. A lot of guys have confidence that in intercourse, they know what they're doing. It's a simple thing. They kind of know how to do it. But with foreplay, a lot of guys feel a little bit lost. And they're really worried that there's something they should be doing that they're not doing, or there's something she wants that they're not doing. And so
Okay.
guys will rush foreplay for that
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
They
And
just
then the
don't-
woman feels pushed instead of
Oh, yeah.
invited.
Yeah. So, I always tell people with oral sex, should not be giving the person oral sex. You should be taking oral sex.
Mm.
And then she could do whatever she wants. She could have an orgasm. She could not have an orgasm. At least she knows you're taken care of because you're just doing whatever excites you.
I was coaching a couple the other day, a male client, and he was asking, I had actually referred your book to him, and this is kind of a funny thought. And he was like, "Are you referring me to a book where he's going to be a beta man?" And I was like, "What's a beta man?" He's like, not an alpha man. And then so I asked him, "So did you think he was a beta man?" He's like, "Oh no, no. I
You passed the test.
passed the test." I thought it was
Okay. No, it's if anything, my book is to try to unbeta guys because guys have been consistent.
exactly. So he very much appreciated, but his question was, at what point does the selfishness come in, right? You say the sexual self is very self-centered. It has a healthy selfishness to it. But he's like, if I'm selfish in my larger context of my relationship, that doesn't go so well. I'm like, oh, absolutely not, right? Like there's partnership outside that creates the trust that allows for that mutual selfishness to be enjoyable. Am I stating that right, or would you state it differently?
I think if there is trust and is there a feeling of relative equality in a couple, then once the bedroom door is closed, then, couple can get a little bit more primeval and a little more primal that way.
Uh-huh.
Um, but to me, sometimes some of that masculine energy is a good thing even outside the bedroom door. If the guy takes initiative and acts like a leader in general, so the woman doesn't have to always take charge and take care of all the details. And if he is, passionate in general in his life and
Passion is attractive.
it's really attractive. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One of the greatest puzzles that I see, tell me if you experience this is a very active woman who's very passionate, whose husband just plain is a little more phlegmatic. He's just does not as high energy a person. It doesn't tend to go so well,
Mm.
because most women want a man who can match their energy and maybe even sometimes exceed it, and so that they can kind of relax and surrender. And such a woman often takes on the role of kind of being the general in the household, and
Yeah.
she
Yeah, they
hates
take on the masculine energy.
the masculine energy. And I know this is dicey territory in terms of, politically and so forth, but I see it as a problem. And I'm not sure it's one I have a great solution to, because sometimes it's just that that's who these two people are.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit well with the conventional script of heterosexuality.
We find oftentimes we talk about overfunctioning and underfunctioning. So because of the anxiety in the relationship, the woman may have taken on certain things and they've overfunctioned in the area, which doesn't allow the men to function in the area. And
I
they
think it's
just
very
want to
that's
have
very useful.
control. Yeah.
This is a very useful thing.
Yeah.
Guy, I tell a guy, make a dinner reservation. And he goes, she's not going to like the place I pick.
Right.
Sometimes he's right. Sometimes he's right that she really will criticize the place he picks. And so you have to tell him, okay, the next thing you got to do is tell her, hey, I'm not really cool with you criticizing the place I picked.
Yes, and
So
stand
in
that
the psych
ground.
business, as you know, we call this limit setting, and
Yeah.
it's a bold thing to do.
Right.
But
Mhm.
Scary.
it's often appreciated that the woman be told, "Hey, wait a minute, you can't do that with this guy.
Right.
I got honor the place he wanted. Might not be my
Right.
first pick, but hey, it's all right."
Yeah, and absolutely. And when they can understand that that's what's going on, that the wife is oftentimes trying to solve her anxiety around things, and so she's overproducing in that area and not allowing the husband to step in and to produce, and then they can reverse that. You'll see a change. That was our marriage, right? Amy was overproducing everywhere because she had anxieties about me, and it didn't allow me. And the only way I could tell her to f you was just not to do it, right? Because she would
Yeah,
redo it or tell me that wasn't right.
Rebellious.
And so instead of stepping up and being the man that I needed to be at that moment, I would just not do it. And that was
and
my
that makes
middle
everything
finger.
worse, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah. And it made it totally worse until we recognized what was going on and the pattern was happening. And now that there's not that anxiety around it and she's able to step back, I'm able to step up and be in those places where before it wasn't able to be that way.
that's
Yeah.
quite an achievement. There are not that many couples who can make that transition, so that's great.
Yeah, it's not easy.
I want
I
to
find
talk just a little bit, if we can. You talk about a couple, Marnie and Tom, in your book, and I think this relates to a lot of my female clients that I see. And she comes in and she says she's kind of in that sex nod, and she's like, "I have no desire. I've been trying to produce desire. It's not there." And you're like, "Okay, let's start with acceptance." Do you want to tell that story, or do you want me to?
Was this the woman who has her second child, and then at that point she has no desire at all?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, which happens a lot. A lot of women describe after their first child, first of all, they're touched out all the time, so they have no desire to
Yeah.
be touched at the end of the day, and they're exhausted and they're stressed because if they're working, they're trying to balance being a mom and working, which is incredibly difficult. And then she has her second child, and it's just completely gone. And she watches an erotic movie, and she thinks this is on another planet. I have no concept of what these people are really even talking about, and so she panics. And I think what you're talking about is to not panic. That's the first step, because panicking makes it all worse. And
Yes.
so not panic. You have no desire. Okay, I have no desire. That's interesting. Are you able to respond to him if he wants to enjoy you or feel aroused by you? I don't know. Let's see. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and also you talk to her about it's okay that you have no desire, and then you say, "Why don't you just start with noticing what you do feel?" Like, we're just gonna take
Yeah.
desire off the table here,
Yeah.
accept that that's where you're at. Like, we're not gonna fight it. You're spending a lot of energy, like, trying to, produce this from somewhere. How about we just notice what you do feel?
Recall what she does feel is she feels terrible about herself. And
Mhm.
we just about how terrible about herself she feels. And she have a chance to just kind of express it and get it all out.
Yes.
And gotten it all out, she feels a little bit better. And especially because it gets heard and accepted and validated without necessarily being agreed with.
Uh-huh.
And he gets to step up and really be the hero in terms of having the capacity to accept that she feels terrible and just be able to listen and be there for her in a kind of a non-demand way. That's
Mhm.
Paul.
Yes, yes, and then as she learns to just feel, that allows her to get back to her presence. So
Right.
you have them practicing that step 1, like, "Let's just lay in the bed, naked together, no touching, let's just learn to be present," and they work on that for a little while, and she's like, "Okay," like, has that sort of connection back to herself again, and then they come in a little later, and you're like, "Okay, now, if you notice arousal, let it
And she
guide
notices
you."
a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Not a huge amount, but a little bit. Yeah.
A little spark, a little
You gotta
something, and
with where you are.
yeah, and she ends up again, like, sharing what's difficult, and he allows it and sees it actually as foreplay, which I think we have this idea that foreplay has to always be doing instead of just this being, and they create this place of, like, we can be together in this space, and from that comes eventually this, desire and this desire to be together and the capacity to even be together.
But I would say that, what they achieve, although I'm not sure I labeled it in the book, they achieve kind of an intimate encounter in the sense that
Yes.
define intimacy for couples is you and me and a feeling together in a sentence. So
Mhm.
he says, I feel just hopeless about the ability to ever feel desire. And okay, that's pretty intimate, and he can experience that and not freak out about it. That's a
Right.
relief.
Mm. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about this arousal guiding you. I think it's a foreign concept to a lot of people.
We're letting it take care of
Yeah,
you.
because again, we come across a lot that's like it has to be resolved. That's
Right. I was a big Tim Tebow fan back in the day. And does your audience know about Tim Tebow?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Became celebrated for the fact not only was he a talented ball player, but he was believing man of faith, and he had never had sex. And I wrote a letter once, an open letter on my blog page, an open letter to Tim Tebow, and it said, this is great because you can be a role model for everybody who wants to save sex for after marriage, which is a perfectly legitimate, decision. It's consistent with one's faith. And but if you could put in a word that just because you've done that does not mean automatically it's going to be an amazing experience.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
Typically, put in a word for don't assume the penis has to get into the vagina right away after the wedding night.
Right.
And that instead, if you could just tell people there is something natural that's going to happen when you get together, that you're going to naturally get a little bit dumb and happy together just because the circuits are going to kind of get into motion in your minds, and just enjoy that for its own sake.
Mm.
And if you enjoy that for its own sake, that feeling, that kind of regressive, dumb, happy feeling is going to be your best way to make sure you're on the right path. Because once you feel that feeling, whatever you do, keep that feeling. And if for some reason you lose that feeling, just hit rewind to when you had it and try something else, because you don't want to ever lose that feeling.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he did not respond. I'm sure he never read it, but
No?
it was written with a lot of heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see that assumption so often. We have a lot of, Christian evangelical based couples that we coach, and they're like, we saved ourselves. We saved ourselves for marriage, and then it totally
It's going to
did
be
not
amazing
work.
because
Yeah.
they didn't know that the foundation of the whole thing of having good sex is just to enjoy that simple feeling of arousal. That's why
Uh-huh.
chapter one, first thing I talked about, right? What does arousal feel like? Well, most people describe that it feels, like you're losing IQ points and the phone rings and you don't really care who's calling and you just want them to go away and you feel just kind of wonderful about yourself. And you really want to notice that. That's the
Uh-huh.
main thing. And as you know, it also is the secret usually to keeping a vibrant sex life for years and decades is to keep having those experiences even when you're not having sex.
Yes.
It's
Yes. Like
simmering
all the time,
all the time.
everywhere, in
You're out
all
of
these little moments and big moments,
you're
all
out of
the
arrest.
time.
There's no reason you can't take off your shoes under the table. One of you slide your shoes, your socked foot under the other person's thigh, and just kind of give each other a look and enjoy feeling a little stupid there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
you're kiss your partner goodbye as you leave the house in the morning, take an extra 30 seconds, reach inside their clothes, mess them up a little bit, and show them that you're really kind of getting a little into it.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's not going to go anywhere, but it'll leave you a little buzzed and it's a wonderful feeling. And if it's the end of the night, even if you're really, really tired, you're not going to have sex, again, reach inside their pajamas and enjoy them selfishly and lose some IQ points together and then fall asleep. And
Yeah.
so you're always in that, it's a little bit like having an errata heater in the house with a thermostat. You always get a little bit so that when you have sex, you're not starting off cold.
Right.
Which is nearly impossible. And that little buzz is just like this hum of fun, or like the secret that the two of you connect, and it brings you together in this way that you can't even really describe.
My theory about it is that it's a fusion of the emotional and the physical way that recalls our earliest attachments to the people who rocked us and held us and told us we were wonderful. And that's the fuel that we rely on our whole lives for joyful pleasure in life. And so if you're lucky enough to have had a good one, and most people are lucky to have good enough, then you draw on that unconsciously when you're holding each other and when you're feeling excited.
Right.
So
And that's extremely interesting because I have a client that is very successful in everything he does. Work, sports, he just does everything very well. And the marriage is the place that he gets so frustrated. And he goes, I don't seek validation or anything from anyone else, but when it comes to my wife, right? That's really where I get frustrated. And I'm like, well, one, because you can't force her to do anything. But two, I think what you said there, it's going back to those very core feelings of who are those people that rocked you, that really told you that they loved you, and it was core. You can get praise and validation from all kinds of people in the world, but it's not the same as that intimate validation that comes from someone choosing you in a relationship.
doesn't rely on your doing anything or doing anything
Right.
well, performing well.
You can't work it. That's what he does. He goes to work, 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 work. And that's how he be successful. And he's like, I can't do that in marriage. It doesn't work. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I had a patient who referred to me as his trainer. I said, no, 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 I'm your anti-trainer. You sit around.
We read that chapter about returning to the earliest connections right when our granddaughter was being born, and we were spending a lot of time with her and watching her get, milk
Yeah.
drunk, and you
It's
have
still
that
nothing.
little
It was perfect.
It's like we do kind of all want to go back to that being held and that milk drunk and that just like
Milk truck.
Yeah.
pure joy, right? That's the enjoyment that you just allow. And like when I'm holding my granddaughter, she's doing nothing but existing, and it's bringing me so much joy. I'm taking pleasure in her just existing, right? And that's kind of what you learn to do in a marriage. You take pleasure from them existing, and you get this feeling like when Greg reaches for me and touches me, I feel alive. It's like I become tingly, and I'm like,
Okay.
it's good.
Well, and it sounds like the two of you have had to really kind of figure it out how to get there, but it sounds like you got there.
Yeah, it was a journey for
It was a
sure,
rocky
and
road.
we messed it up a lot. So,
Okay. Well, it's an inspiration.
We love to simmer. We simmer every morning.
yeah,
We simmer through the day, and even a lot of our clients have young couples or empty nesters, and they've just forgotten how to enjoy all those little micro moments and minutes, gazes, touches, walking past, looks, those kisses,
Yeah. I
all of
consider a
those.
fork in the road. 90% of couples take the left fork of the road where the only time they feel excited together is when they're going to have sex. And you got
Mm.
about 10% of couples who take the right fork, like you guys, where they say, you know what? I don't think we have to limit it to that. Let's just enjoy it all the time.
yeah. Yep.
That's
It's a shift. It's a shift in the mindset and what it really means, and that's really what we spend a lot of time with our clients trying to get them to get that major shift and understand.
it goes together with paying attention to your inner experience rather than to what physically you're doing to each other.
Right.
Yes.
Because if you're tuned into
Yes.
your inner experience and you say, yeah, there's that place that I feel when I feel turned on and buzzed, and you go, yeah, I'd like some of that, then it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you're doing once you're getting that
Yeah.
feeling.
But no
And
one
you
taught
get
us
that
that.
little buzz, and that buzz is pleasurable, whether it's 30
Exactly.
seconds or 30 minutes or an hour. Like it's pleasure, it's
It
joy.
makes you feel validated and alive.
Yeah.
If more of the traditional couples who save themselves for marriage would really focus on that, then they'd be a lot better off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's right because we're not taught that. We're really taught it's all about the physical act and do these three things. And if everyone has an orgasm, then you did a good job. And if not, then we all failed.
And I'm in a Jewish world, and I see a whole spectrum of from very, very modern people to very, very, very traditional people. And among the very traditional people, people do get counseling, like I'm sure Christian couples do. And sometimes a guy will get counseling about how to take care of a woman after marriage, how to get her ready for intercourse. And sometimes he'll be told, just like kind of go like this a little bit between her legs and stuff.
Not enticing.
Yeah. Step A.
I see that too, though, where a lot of the males will grasp onto some position or idea or scene, and they try to make that create this buzz and feeling. And what I tell everyone, no, the buzz and feeling comes from inside, and the presence, you being present and them being present, and then whatever else is added in just adds to the buzz, right? It's not the thing that creates the buzz. It's the presence and just following
You should
that.
try to turn your partner on. It's always a
No.
mistake. It's very, very simple. You forget everything except pay attention to whether you're feeling in that pleasurable, dumb and happy state that you get into when you're feeling somewhat turned on. That's really all you need to do. It's like a
Yeah.
game of bluff. Am I hot or am I cold? And your body and your mind will tell you that.
And you just keep that anchor into yourself, into that noticing and following that.
And once you get into that space, whatever you end up doing, you make sure you stay in that space. And if you lose it, you go back and say, "Hey, I lost it.
Rewind.
Let's rewind."
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Snyder.
Yes,
We
thank
have
you.
very much enjoyed this moment.
You're
Me too.
delightful in person too.
Yeah, we
Me
love
too.
it. We appreciate it. Everyone, go join us, langfordlifecoaching.com. We
What about
have
this book?
Dr. Snyder's book up there. Click on it, buy it, read it. It is wonderful. Until next time,
Keep undressing your intimacy.
bye-bye.